In a vast command center deep within the Galactic Empire, the atmosphere buzzed with arrogance and disdain as high-ranking officers gathered around a holographic display projecting a live feed of Earth's military exercises, their laughter echoing through the room. They leaned closer to the flickering images of humans clad in outdated armor clumsily maneuvering rusty vehicles, a sight that sparked uproarious guffaws and derisive comments echoed from the assembled commanders who relished the spectacle of what they deemed a primitive species stumbling through its own inadequacies. Commander Zarthan, a towering figure with a reputation for ruthlessness, leaned back in his chair, his voice dripping with sarcasm as he addressed his peers. "Look at them," he mocked. "They cannot even fly their own aircraft. Properly, do you really think they stand a chance against our might?" He gestured dismissively at the screen where a human tank sputtered forward, emitting a cloud of smoke. The officers roared with laughter, shaking their heads at the folly of Earth's defenses. Little did they know that, hidden from their jeering eyes, a team of brilliant scientists on Earth was hard at work in a secure underground facility nestled in the mountains there. The air was charged with excitement as researchers gathered around a central console, displaying the results of their latest experiments. Glowing Tachyon particles danced across the screen, illuminating faces filled with awe and determination. Dr. Emily Carter, the lead scientist, a woman known for her fierce intellect and unwavering resolve, stood at the forefront, her eyes gleaming with ambition. She turned to her team, her voice steady, as she declared, "We have done it. We have unlocked the potential of Tachyon energy." The room fell silent as the implications of her words sank in. Tachyon technology had long been theorized, but considered a fantasy by many now. They had not only discovered a way to harness this elusive energy, but had built prototypes of ships that could traverse vast distances in the blink of an eye. This breakthrough represented humanity's chance to turn the tide against their oppressors. In the weeks that followed, the secret project advanced rapidly under the cloak of darkness. Engineers worked tirelessly designing sleek spacecraft powered by Tachyon engines. Their designs were cutting-edge, a fusion of human ingenuity and desperation, fueled by the desire to protect their home. As the prototype ships began to take shape, they embodied not just technology, but a symbol of hope for a species on the brink of extinction. Meanwhile, the Empire continued to mock Earth, unaware that their laughter was about to turn to shock. The scientists completed their first successful test flight. The ship darted across the sky faster than anything seen before, a streak of light that vanished and reappeared in a heartbeat. The test flight concluded with cheers echoing through the facility as the team celebrated their success. The news of their triumph spread quietly among military leaders who began to understand the potential of this new fleet. Whispers of a hidden armada started to circulate among Earth's allies, fueling a growing sense of unity and resolve. There was a determination to defend their planet, to stand against the might of the Galactic Empire. As the Galactic Empire prepared for an invasion, their confidence blinded them to the gathering storm on Earth. Their laughter echoed across the cosmos. While humanity fortified its defenses in secret, the stage was set for a confrontation that would change the course of history forever, unaware that the laughter would soon be replaced by disbelief and fear as they faced a foe they had long underestimated. As the Galactic Empire reveled in their superiority, the scientists on Earth continued their work with relentless dedication. The atmosphere within the underground facility buzzed with anticipation and urgency. As the team prepared for the next phase of their mission, Dr. Emily Carter gathered her team together for a critical briefing, their faces illuminated by the glow of the consoles reflecting the weight of what lay ahead. "We are on the brink of something monumental," she began, her voice steady but filled with passion. "This technology is our best chance to protect our planet from the Empire. We must not falter now." Her words resonated deeply with her colleagues, fueling their determination. The engineers continued refining the Tachyon-powered ships. Each prototype was a marvel of human innovation. Sleek lines and advanced weaponry Blended seamlessly with the Tachyon engines that promised unmatched speed and agility, the team worked tirelessly to ensure every detail was perfect, every component meticulously tested for reliability and efficiency. Meanwhile, the Empire's scouts were already mobilizing their forces, preparing for a show of might against the perceived insignificance of Earth. They plotted their course with confidence, believing they would easily crush any resistance. The commander Zarthan took great pleasure in overseeing the preparations. His arrogance was palpable as he barked orders to his subordinates. Back on Earth, the mood was different. The scientists understood the stakes all too well. Their laughter was replaced by a steely resolve as they finished the final touches. On the fleet, the first successful full-scale test flight was scheduled, and anticipation crackled in the air. As the day of the test approached, the team gathered on the observation deck, overlooking the launch site. They watched as the first Tachyon ship stood poised for takeoff, a sleek vessel shimmering under the sunlight. The heart of the ship pulsed with energy as technicians conducted last-minute checks. Tut Carter took a deep breath, her heart racing. This moment was not just about technology, it represented the spirit of humanity, their fight for survival against an oppressive force. She addressed her team one last time. "We are not just launching a ship, we are launching our hope, our defiance against tyranny." With the final checks completed, the countdown began. The tension in the air was palpable as everyone held their breath. 3, 2, 1, liftoff. The ship roared to life, its engines igniting with a brilliant flash, and in an instant it shot upward, leaving a trail of light in its wake. The crowd erupted in cheers as they witnessed the power of their creation. The ship soared higher and higher, its Tachyon engines propelling it beyond anything Earth had ever seen. Within moments, it reached the edge of the atmosphere, disappearing from view in the blink of an eye. The engineers exchanged looks of disbelief and exhilaration. The test was a resounding success. As the ship reappeared moments later, the cheers grew louder. This was not merely a technological achievement. It was a declaration that humanity would not go quietly into the night. They were rising to meet the challenge. And with each successful test flight, the resolve of Earth's forces solidified. News of the successful test spread rapidly among military leaders, igniting a fire of hope among the ranks. They began planning strategies for utilizing the Tachyon fleet to its fullest potential. Discussions turned into action as Earth prepared for the inevitable confrontation with the Empire. The Galactic Empire remained blissfully unaware of the brewing storm. Their scouts were still en route, believing they would easily overwhelm Earth. This underestimation would soon prove to be their greatest mistake, as the tides of fate shifted, and the stage was set for an unprecedented clash between the two worlds. As the successful test flights of the Tachyon fleet continued to resonate throughout military circles on Earth, the atmosphere grew electric with anticipation and determination. In the command center, leaders gathered to discuss their next steps. The mood was no longer one of despair, but of hope. They recognized that they had a fighting chance against the Galactic Empire. Emily Carter stood before a holographic display filled with data and simulations, her voice steady. As she addressed the group, "We have the technology. Now we must focus on strategy. We need to maximize our advantage, while we still have the element of surprise." The officers nodded in agreement, their minds racing with possibilities. The fleet was small, but it was powerful, and they had trained tirelessly to hone their skills in preparation for the impending conflict. Discussions unfolded around the table as plans took shape and ideas flowed like a torrent. They examined the Empire's typical tactics, their reliance on brute force and overwhelming numbers. They understood that while their enemies were confident, they were also predictable. The Earth commanders knew that exploiting the element of surprise would be their greatest weapon. As the days passed, the Tachyon fleet underwent rigorous training exercises, simulating various combat scenarios. Every pilot pushed to their limits as they learned to maneuver the ships with precision and speed. Each successful exercise built camaraderie and confidence among the crew. Meanwhile, the Galactic Empire continued to prepare for their invasion, oblivious to the growing storm on Earth. Their scouts reported back on the progress of the humans, but their assessments were filled with condescension. They laughed at the thought that such a primitive species could ever pose a significant threat. Commander Zarthan paced within the war room, fueled by arrogance. As he reviewed the latest reports, he scoffed at the idea that Earth could muster any real resistance. "We will crush them under our heel," he proclaimed, his voice echoing off the metallic walls. He was unaware that his underestimation would soon come back to haunt him. As Earth's fleet continued to evolve, so did the tactics employed by its commanders. They devised a plan to lure the Empire's forces into a carefully laid trap, using misinformation to create the illusion of vulnerability. They knew the Empire would pounce on any perceived weakness. The day of the confrontation arrived, and tension hung thick in the air as the Earth fleet prepared for battle. The pilots took their positions, their hearts pounding with a mix of fear and exhilaration. They were ready to defend their planet, to fight for their future. As the Tachyon fleet launched into the void of space, they became a blur of movement, darting through the cosmos with breathtaking speed. The commanders had chosen their location wisely, a remote sector, where they could draw the Empire in without interference from allies. Back at the Empire's command center, the mood was one of anticipation as Zarthan and his officers reviewed their strategy. The scout fleet was poised to strike. They believed they would swiftly crush any human resistance in their path. As the scouts approached Earth's orbit, they were met with silence and stillness. The emptiness felt unsettling, but Zarthan dismissed any concerns, believing the humans were cowering in fear instead of mounting a defense. Meanwhile, hidden in the shadows of the cosmos, Earth's Tachyon fleet waited in silence, engines primed for action. The pilots focused their minds, preparing for the moment when the Empire would reveal itself. They knew that victory hinged on timing and coordination. In the heart of the Empire's fleet, the scouts began to pick up signals. As they entered Earth's atmosphere, their arrogance led them to dismiss any signs of danger. They were convinced of their supremacy, unaware of the storm that was about to unleash upon them. As they closed in on their target, the stage was set for a confrontation that would reverberate through the galaxy and alter the course of history forever. As the scout fleet entered Earth's atmosphere, the tension within the Tachyon fleet reached a fever pitch. The pilots exchanged nervous glances, their hearts raced in anticipation. They knew that the moment they had trained for was finally at hand. Their fingers danced over controls, ready to unleash the power of their new technology. Commander Harlan, the leader of the Tachyon fleet, observed the incoming scouts. Through the holographic display, his eyes narrowed as he waited for the right moment to strike. The Empire had unwittingly walked into their trap, and the thrill of impending action surged through him. The scouts approached the designated target area, their sensors scanning for any sign of resistance. They reported back to Commander Zarthan with a mixture of confidence and disdain. "Everything appears clear, sir," they announced. "It seems the humans are hiding in fear. Their defenses are non-existent." Zarthan laughed dismissively, his voice booming through the command center. "Excellent. Let us show them the consequences of their defiance." He ordered, a slight smirk playing on his lips as he anticipated the swift victory ahead. Back on Earth, the countdown began as the Tachyon fleet remained hidden in the shadows of the cosmos. The pilots maintained their composure. Their training had prepared them for this moment. They focused on their objectives, their hearts united in a shared purpose to protect their planet. As the scout ships drew nearer, Harlan made the call to initiate the attack now. He commanded with conviction. The pilots activated their Tachyon engines in unison, and in an instant the fleet erupted from concealment like a swarm of shooting stars. The scouts were caught completely off guard as the Tachyon ships blazed into view, their speed and agility unparalleled in the universe. Confusion rippled through the ranks of the Empire's fleet as they struggled to process the sudden appearance of their adversaries. Harlan seized the moment and led the charge, targeting the nearest scout ship. With pinpoint accuracy, the Tachyon fleet danced through space, weaving in and out of enemy formations, launching their weapons with lethal precision. The element of surprise was theirs. The first shots fired erupted like thunder across the void of space. The Empire's scouts attempted to respond, but their formation quickly disintegrated under the relentless assault of the Tachyon ships. The humans fought with fervor and skill. As explosions lit up the dark expanse of space, the reality of the situation sank in within the Empire's command center. Zarthan's expression shifted from confidence to disbelief as he watched the battle unfold. On the screens, the laughter had vanished, replaced by shocked silence. The scout fleet was losing its grip as Earth's pilots executed intricate maneuvers. Employing strategies learned from countless simulations, they exploited every weakness, targeting enemy engines and communication systems with surgical precision. Panic spread through the ranks of the Empire's officers. They scrambled to regain control of the situation, but it was too late. Their initial overconfidence had blinded them to the true capabilities of humanity. One by one, the Empire's ships fell to the onslaught of the Tachyon fleet. The once laughing commanders now stared wide-eyed at the screens displaying their imminent defeat as Earth's fleet showcased the fruits of their labor and determination. Harlan rallied his pilots, urging them forward. "Do not let up," he shouted. "Keep pressing the attack. This is our chance to send a message to the Empire that we will not be subjugated." With renewed vigor, the Tachyon fleet surged ahead, their ships a blur of motion. In the void of space, the battle raged on. The tide had turned, and the Galactic Empire was learning that they had gravely underestimated their foe. As the last of the scout ships fell, the triumphant cheers erupted among the pilots of Earth's fleet. They had achieved the impossible. They had struck a powerful blow against the might of the Galactic Empire, marking the beginning of a new chapter in their struggle for freedom. As the remnants of the Galactic Empire's scout fleet scattered in disarray, the Tachyon fleet surged forward, their adrenaline fueled by the thrill of victory. The pilots exchanged exhilarated glances, their hearts raced with the realization that they had just struck a decisive blow against a formidable adversary. Commander Harlan watched the chaotic aftermath unfold on his display. The glowing silhouettes of the enemy ships flickered like dying stars. Their destruction painted a vivid picture of humanity's defiance. He felt a swell of pride and determination surging through him. But amidst the celebration, there was no time to rest. Harlan knew that the Empire would regroup and retaliate. Their defeat would not go unanswered. "We must capitalize on this victory." He called out to his fleet, "They will come back stronger, and we must be ready for their response." Meanwhile, within the command center of the Empire, Zarthan seethed with anger. As he surveyed the battlefield, his officers scrambled to assess the damage reports. Flooding in, he had expected a quick conquest, not a humiliating defeat. "This cannot be happening," he barked, his voice laced with frustration. "The humans are nothing but insects. How could they possibly withstand our might?" He slammed his fist on the table, sending shockwaves of tension through the room. His officers exchanged uneasy glances, knowing that their arrogance had led them to this moment. The scout fleet was meant to be a simple reconnaissance mission. Now it lay in tatters before them. "We must mobilize the main fleet," Zarthan ordered, his tone cold and resolute. "We will not allow this embarrassment to stand. We will crush them with overwhelming force. Let the rest of the Empire know we are coming." Back on Earth, the Tachyon fleet was already regrouping. As the pilots debriefed, they shared their experiences in the heat of battle, discussing tactics and lessons learned. Their camaraderie strengthened by the shared victory. Harlan addressed his crew with fervor today. "We proved that we are a force to be reckoned with," he said, his voice ringing with confidence. "But we cannot let our guard down. They will come back, and we must be prepared to meet them head-on." As they prepared for the next phase of their mission, the pilots trained diligently, refining their tactics and honing their skills. The successful engagement had only fueled their desire to protect their planet and their people. In the following days, the Empire's command began to assemble its main fleet, a massive armada bristling with weapons and technology designed to overwhelm the defenses of any opponent. Zarthan was determined to make an example of Earth, and he would not rest until he had achieved that goal. The Galactic Empire's vessels thundered through the cosmos. Their ominous approach felt like a dark cloud looming over the Earth pilots. On both sides braced themselves for the impending confrontation. On Earth's surface citizens watched anxiously as news of the Empire's preparations spread. A mixture of fear and determination filled the air. They had witnessed their military rise against seemingly insurmountable odds, but now the reality of facing the full might of the Empire was daunting. In the command center, Harlan and his officers strategized, tirelessly preparing for the inevitable clash. They analyzed every aspect of the Empire's fleet, considering possible weaknesses and vulnerabilities. They understood that their advantage lay not just in technology, but in their unity and resolve. As the day of the battle approached, the tension built to a breaking point. The Tachyon fleet stood ready, their engines primed, their hearts united in a common cause. They were no longer the underdogs, they were warriors prepared to defend their home. The time for talk was over as the Empire's fleet entered Earth's orbit. The atmosphere crackled with anticipation. A storm was brewing, and the stage was set for a confrontation that would echo throughout the galaxy, a battle that would determine the fate of two worlds. The pilots of Earth's Tachyon fleet locked eyes with one another in silent determination. They understood what was at stake. They were not just fighting for themselves, but for their planet, their families, and their future. As the first shots were fired, the galaxy would bear witness to humanity's defiance and courage against an empire that had underestimated them at every turn. As the massive armada of the Galactic Empire filled the void of space dread, washed over Earth's command center, the atmosphere was thick with tension as Harlan and his officers scanned the incoming fleet, their faces etched with determination. Mixed with anxiety, they knew that the Empire's full might was bearing down on them. The screens flickered with images of the Empire's ships, lined up in formation, each vessel bristling with weapons ready to unleash devastation. Their size and power were intimidating, but Harlan refused to let fear take hold. He gathered his pilots for a final briefing. "This is it," he began, his voice steady and resolute. "We have already proven ourselves capable of turning the tide against the Empire. But now we face their full force. We must stay united and trust in our training." As the pilots nodded, their resolve solidified. They remembered the fierce camaraderie forged in the heat of battle. They had stood together, and they would do so again, ready to defend their home against overwhelming odds. Meanwhile, Zarthan surveyed the battlefield with a newfound focus. The loss of the scout fleet had ignited a fire within him, and he was determined to make humanity pay for their defiance. "We will make them regret their insolence." He growled to his officers, "Our objective is clear. We will obliterate their fleet and send a message to any who dare oppose us." The Empire's fleet surged forward as the orders were given. Weapon systems powered up, and the sound of readiness echoed through the ships. In the darkness of space, anticipation crackled like static in the air. As the two forces drew closer, the tension became palpable. Both sides prepared for the inevitable clash. The Tachyon fleet stood ready in their formation, waiting for Harlan's command. Harlan felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. He knew that the fate of his planet rested on their performance in this battle. He closed his eyes for a brief moment to center himself, then opened them to look at his crew. "Remember, we are fighting not just for ourselves, but for all of humanity," he declared with conviction. "Let our actions today echo through the stars." At that moment, the first shots rang out. The Empire unleashed a barrage of firepower aimed at the Tachyon fleet. Bright bursts of energy illuminated the darkness of space as explosions erupted around them. Harlan's heart raced as he issued commands, dodging incoming fire, while ordering his pilots to return fire. Their Tachyon weapons ignited, sending beams of light streaking through the void, targeting the Empire's ships with precision. The battle erupted into chaos, as both fleets collided in a dazzling display of energy and destruction. The vastness of space became a theater of war, with ships maneuvering through the firestorm. As explosions rocked the Empire's vessels, the realization began to sink in among their ranks that the humans were fighting back fiercely. Their speed and tactics were disorienting, and many Empire pilots found themselves outmatched. Harlan pushed his fleet forward, urging them to exploit the openings created by the initial strike. They needed to capitalize on their speed and agility, weaving through the enemy fire while launching counterattacks against vulnerable targets. The tide began to shift as Earth's fleet executed intricate maneuvers, coordinating attacks that bewildered the Empire's forces. With each successful strike, the confidence of the Tachyon pilots grew stronger. Zarthan seethed with frustration as he watched his ships falter. His officers scrambled to regroup, but the damage was done. The arrogance that had blinded them before was now giving way to desperation. "We cannot let them continue to gain ground," Zarthan roared, his voice filled with fury. "Redirect our firepower focus on their command ship. We will crush their leadership and end this insurrection." As the battle raged on, the Tachyon fleet continued to fight valiantly, pushing back against the Empire's might. With each passing moment, they proved that humanity was a force to be reckoned with, an indomitable spirit rising to challenge oppression in the darkest of times. The galaxy held its breath as the clash of two worlds unfolded, a conflict that would resonate through history, a fight not just for survival, but for the very soul of humanity in the face of overwhelming odds. As the battle intensified, the fate of Earth hung in the balance. The Tachyon fleet fought with unyielding determination, but the Empire was relentless. Their massive warships unleashed a torrent of firepower, trying to regain control of the battlefield. Commander Harlan felt the pressure mounting as he navigated his ship through the chaos. Each explosion illuminated the dark expanse of space, revealing the bravery and resilience of his crew. Their skill and teamwork were the backbone of their defense. He called out commands with unwavering focus, urging them to exploit every opportunity that arose. "We need to make our move," Harlan shouted, his voice cutting through the din of battle, targeting their command ship. "We'll turn the tide. If we can disrupt their leadership, we can disrupt their entire fleet." The pilots responded with fierce determination. Their Tachyon engines flared as they coordinated their movements, executing complex maneuvers to avoid enemy fire, while positioning themselves for a concentrated strike on the heart of the Empire's armada. In the command center of the Empire, Zarthan felt his anger boiling over as he watched his forces struggle to maintain their footing. The humans were fighting back with tenacity that he had not anticipated. The realization that they were not just insects, but formidable adversaries sank in. "We must change tactics," he barked to his officers. "Regroup the ships and focus fire on the Tachyon fleet's command ship. We cannot allow them to gain any further momentum." As Zarthan directed his forces, his anger fueled their resolve, and the Empire's ships shifted their firepower toward the Tachyon fleet. The air crackled with tension as the two forces clashed with renewed ferocity. Harlan's eyes narrowed as he surveyed the battlefield. The Empire's command ship loomed large in the distance, a prime target that needed to be taken down. He issued the order for the fleet to form up and execute their plan. "Form up on me," he commanded. "We're going straight for their command ship. Stay tight and watch each other's backs." With a united roar, the Tachyon fleet surged forward, their engines blazing as they flew into the fray, weaving through enemy fire, their hearts synchronized in a singular goal to dismantle the Empire's leadership. The Empire's ships began to rain fire upon them, but the agility of the Tachyon fleet allowed them to dodge and weave through the onslaught as they pressed closer to their target. Harlan's pulse quickened as they neared the command ship. It was a massive fortress bristling with weapons, but they had trained for this moment. They knew the risks and were prepared to fight for their survival. As they closed in, Harlan could see the defensive turrets swiveling to target them. He shouted for evasive maneuvers as enemy fire erupted around them. The fleet split into two formations flanking the command ship from both sides. With a surge of adrenaline, Harlan locked onto a vulnerable section of the command ship's hull and called for his pilots to engage their Tachyon weapons. They unleashed a concentrated barrage of energy beams, slicing through the void and striking the Empire's defenses. The impact was immediate. As explosions erupted along the command ship's flanks, the Empire's crew scrambled to react, their control systems faltering under the onslaught. Zarthan watched in disbelief as his command ship began to take damage. The realization that they were losing control ignited a fire of desperation in him. "We cannot allow this to continue," he shouted. "Send every available ship to protect the command ship. We must regroup." As the Empire's forces tried to rally together, Harlan pushed his fleet even harder, their resolve solidified by the sight of the command ship in turmoil. They knew that victory was within reach. Now was the time to strike, to show the Empire that humanity would not back down, that they would not cower in fear, but instead rise to meet their destiny as warriors ready to fight for their freedom and their future. The galaxy watched as the tide turned, the fate of two worlds hanging in the balance. As the confrontation reached its climax, a fight that would reverberate through the cosmos and change the course of history forever. As the battle raged on, the momentum shifted with every passing moment. Harlan felt the adrenaline coursing through his veins as the Tachyon fleet unleashed everything they had against the Empire's command ship. They pressed forward, knowing that their next moves could determine the fate of their planet. The Empire's ships scrambled to protect their command vessel, but the Tachyon fleet was relentless. Their precision strikes created openings and vulnerabilities that were quickly exploited. Each explosion fueled the pilots' determination, their hearts beating as one. Harlan's voice rang out over the comms, "We cannot let up now. We are on the verge of victory. Keep your focus and stay coordinated." The pilots responded with a chorus of affirmatives as they continued their assault. The command ship's defenses began to falter under the relentless barrage. The once formidable fortress now looked vulnerable and exposed. Zarthan seethed with rage as he watched the chaos unfold on the screens. His command ship was in peril, and his pride was on the line. He knew he needed to regain control or risk losing everything. "Redirect all firepower to the humans," he roared, his voice echoing throughout the command center. "Make them pay for their insolence. Unleash everything we have." As the Empire's remaining ships concentrated their fire on the Tachyon fleet, the intensity of the battle escalated. Beams of energy lit up the void of space as both sides fought with desperation and fervor. But Harlan had a plan. He knew that the key to victory lay in dismantling the command ship's control systems. He locked onto a target and shouted to his fleet, "Target the command ship's power core. We must disable it." With renewed focus, the Tachyon fleet shifted their firepower, targeting the core of the command ship. Bright flashes erupted as their beams struck true. The energy coursing through the Empire's vessel began to fluctuate. Zarthan felt the floor shake beneath him as his command ship took direct hits. The alarms blared, signaling the impending failure of their systems. "We must stabilize the core," he barked, his officers scrambling to comply, but time was running out. The Empire's once cohesive fleet began to fragment under the pressure as more of their ships fell to the Tachyon assault. Each explosion served as a rallying cry for Earth's pilots. They were no longer just fighting for survival, but for a brighter future. As the command ship's power core began to fail, Harlan could see the tides turning. The Empire was losing its grip. He felt a surge of hope as he commanded his fleet to press the attack. "We are almost there," he urged them. "Keep pushing." In a final desperate attempt, Zarthan rallied the last of his forces. "This is our moment," he shouted. "We will not go down without a fight. Regroup and counterattack. Focus all fire on their lead ship." But it was too late. The Tachyon fleet had gained the upper hand. They coordinated one final assault on the command ship, aiming for the power core with laser-like focus. As the beams struck the core, an enormous explosion erupted from the command ship, sending shockwaves rippling through space. The ship disintegrated in a brilliant flash of light and energy. The remnants of the Empire's fleet reeled in shock as their command vessel was destroyed. The realization of defeat washed over them like a cold wave. With their leadership dismantled, the remaining ships began to flee, scattering in every direction. The once mighty Empire was unraveling before their eyes. Harlan and his pilots erupted in cheers as they watched the Empire's forces retreat. The weight of their struggle lifted from their shoulders. They had done the impossible. They had defied the odds and reclaimed their destiny. In that moment, the galaxy felt the shift. The story of humanity was forever altered. They had proven that they were not merely survivors, but warriors capable of rising to challenge even the most oppressive of forces. As the Tachyon fleet regrouped in the aftermath of victory, Harlan looked around at his crew, their faces illuminated by the glow of their ships. Filled with hope and determination, they had forged a new path for humanity, a future no longer defined by fear, but by courage and resilience. The battle was won, but the war for freedom would continue, and as Earth's heroes gazed into the stars, they knew that this was just the beginning of their journey, a journey that would echo through the cosmos for generations to come.